When you go to the range, how many rounds does it take for you to realize you still suck at shooting? So I think realizing that you still suck at shooting is critical in order to progress. If we don't know what we suck at, we can't work on it. And if we don't work on it, then we're never going to get better. So understanding that we still suck at shooting is super important, I think. But what's more important is to start to develop some specificity around what we think we suck at. I don't think it's helpful to be self-deprecating. Go to the range and just say, wow, I'm not as good as this person or that person, or I'm not as good as I was a month ago. In general, I don't think that's a healthy, helpful observation. But to be able to say, I was weak at this particular element today, I think can be super helpful. It gives you something to work on the rest of your live fire day, and it also might give you something to focus on in dry fire between range days. So I think starting to learn how to diagnose yourself and look at results downrange and figure out what exactly are the weak points in your game right now is super important. For me, I don't really care how well I shoot once I'm warmed up. What's most important for me is to understand where I'm weak when I'm absolutely cold, specifically cold with my everyday carry from concealment. I like to shoot rifle. Rifle's fun, but for me, the main reason that I shoot is to develop a proficiency with my handgun from a concealed position. So the way that I measure my cold performance every single range day is by shooting a cold start as soon as I get to the range. First thing I do, whether I'm shooting outside the waistband handgun or rifle, whatever I'm doing for the day, it always starts with my concealed carry handgun from a concealed position, and I shoot a cold start. To me, that's really important information that I need to collect every time I go to the range. Any drill can be a cold start. There's a lot of people who are putting out great cold starts, drills specifically designed to be run cold. Ian's drill is pretty difficult. If that's too difficult for you to gather any useful information on your own performance from, then pick something that's a little simpler, maybe a bill drill or a Mozambique, something that's achievable and that you can run time and time again every time you come to the range and use it as a tool to diagnose what you need to work on. So for me, I think there's value in staying consistent with your cold start for a little while. I just sort of have a self-imposed rule that I run the same cold start every time I go to the range until I can shoot it clean under my self-imposed time hack 3 separate range days in a row. As long as I'm still failing at it, there's something that I can learn from it. So for the past few months, I've been using the FASTish drill as my cold start. FASTish drill is basically just an adaptation of the fast drill. The fast drill is run with a 3x5 card as a head box and a pie plate as the body box, and that was just a pain in the ass for me to bring with me to the range and set up. So I just sort of adapted the drill to be run on the RangeFox form target. Those can be printed off rangefox.com for free. You don't need to subscribe. It's basically the head box from USPSA target, the A-zone, and then a reduced thoracic A-zone body box, so basically the top 50% of that thoracic A-zone printed out on one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So I think a cold start should be a pass or fail type of an event. So I've just self-imposed 7-second time hack, run clean as my criteria as a pass on this cold start. So you could use whatever you wanted to do, but for me that puts me under enough of stress where I fail often enough where I get a chance to learn what to work on. If you're constantly passing your cold start, you either need to make it more difficult or pick a different drill. So let's go.
Seth! Thinking about you.
Yeah?
You know why?
Why?
Let me look at lane 2.
What happened?
2 and 3.
So this drill is pretty straightforward. On the beep, you draw 2 rounds into the head box. That forces me to get slow and precise right out of the draw. My tendency is to usually hit the gas too hard. So by forcing myself to shoot a low probability target off the draw, I can identify some things I need to work on. Following those first 2 to the head box, we have a reload from slide lock, and then 4 more rounds into the chest box. That gives me a chance to evaluate my recoil management and my ability to shift gears from low probability to high probability target. So on this particular cold start, I yanked my first round pretty badly into the body box, followed up by a good second round into the head box. My reload felt clean, and I was able to get back on target with a good tempo and manage my recoil for 4 rounds into the chest. Came in just a little bit over 7 seconds, but I would say my biggest failure was my yanked first round. So for the rest of my range day, I ran a number of reps, about a magazine full, of literally draw and 1 round into the head box. I know it sounds super lame, but that's what I needed to work on today, so that's what got the attention. Shooting is a really broad discipline, and there's a lot of things to be good at, or consequently not good at. So I feel like if I'm trying to work on all of the things that I need to all at once, I'm not making very much progress on any of them. I've seen a lot more fruit coming from focusing in really tightly on one thing that needs attention right now and drilling that both in live fire and in dry fire. So now the application of what I learned in my cold start doesn't just stop on the line. I'm going to bring that home into dry fire as well for the week. So this week I'm going to work on 2 things in dry fire primarily. One is getting myself up, out, and on target, and really making sure my dot settles where I need it to make a clean break prior to pressing the trigger. And then secondly, I'm going to actually just isolate that trigger press by working on brass on the front sight post, and just really under no time stress or anything, just really working on a nice steady slow press to the rear and breaking shots where I don't drop that brass off my post. And we'll see how that pans out next week. So here's the thing, even if I'm wrong in my diagnosis of my own weakness using this cold start, I still don't think it's a bad thing to fractionalize and break shooting down into smaller chunks, and for a week focus on a particular element. So next time you head to the range, if you don't know what to work on, why don't you just pick a drill and decide what your cold start criteria is going to be. Run that and then do the best you can to self-diagnose yourself. If you don't know how to read your cold start and you can't figure out what you should be working on off of that, send me a DM or send me a picture of what you've got, and I'll help if I can. It is possible to get better at shooting. You just have to work on one piece at a time.